Does that count as cheating? If this is so revolutionary, what's the reason it hasn't been done before? I wonder how much this keyboard costs. So I read something that I did a very tiny amount of research. I read that graphics cards, if you're trying to graph like the amount of performance you can get out of a graphics card versus the power that you put in, that it like, that it ends up, it takes on like a shape like this basically, where like you can get a GPU to work at like 80% of the performance or something. Like if this is performance and this is power, yes, I will use. No. Performance, power. That like at 80% of the power of a card, you basically get like you get like, or no, I'm sorry. At like 20% of the power, you can get like 80% of the performance. Something crazy like this. I don't know. I was reading, some guy recommended this. So I bought this GPU yesterday. That's coming in the mail. We'll see if it ends up working or not. Supposedly hardware encoding is very good now, or it's like the standard, I guess, for streaming. And this one does like onboard AV1. This graphics card apparently does, so it does onboard encoding for as many different streams as you want. But the max draw for this is 75 watts. What the fuck? You bought it at 1.3K? I don't know. This is what the guy recommended. It seems expensive, but. Can't every RTX card do that? Yeah, I mean, I think all of them can now, but the max power draw on this is like, I think it is. I think it's like 75 watts. It's insane. So we'll see how this ends up working out in the streaming rig. It's also very fucking small. You know, you can lower the wattage on a 4090 to whatever you want. Yeah, but I don't know if the encoding and everything would work the same and whatever and all of that shit. I don't know enough about. What am I looking for? 4,000. Look at how small this card is.
$44. This doesn't look like a GPU that I would be remotely interested in, does it? Look at it. And yet, here we are. More importantly, I'm surprised, stunned even.
Look at how tiny this little card is. Oh my god. Why not go with an Intel GPU for AV1 encoding? This does AV1 encoding. What is an Intel GPU? Is it better than this? Is power usage a concern for you? Yes, I keep flipping this stupid fucking breaker. It's pissing me off. And I think that when I'm living in apartments I have so much, I'm loading these circuits a lot, right? Like I've got 2 fully functional computers. I've got 2 big ass monitors, my channel strips. I've got like all my lights. Like there's just a lot of load on the circuits. And if I don't know how much, I wonder how much power, is it hardware, HW, is it hardware monitor? I wonder how much power this 1080 Ti is drawing on idle, I'm not sure. Hardware monitor. Hardware monitor should show, right, do you think? Ugh.
Buenos dias, señor.
Hello.
So, I hear you're flipping some breakers.
Yeah.
I got that on reliable source.
Okay.
What are your 2 rigs that you have right now?
What is this god awful fucking program? Zoom, close. Okay, sorry. Jesus Christ. Okay. I've got a streaming rig and a gaming rig.
Yep. What are they? The 2 of them?
I mean, what do you want?
CPU and GPU.
The one on the left, I think, is a 7980XE.
Okay, so that's ancient.
Yes. It's a 7980XE paired with a 1080 Ti, just because offline TV had an extra one that I took. And then on the right, I think I've got a 3090 Ti.
This is the gaming PC, right?
Yeah, gaming,
Okay.
aka
Okay.
Obsidian.
Okay. 3090 Ti and I'm guessing like a 10900,
That's my
maybe
guess. Oh no,
or
just
an
a
11900.
3090 and maybe a 10900. Does DXDiag show you your fucking processor? Oh no, wait. Actually, wait. This should. Hold on. Yes, 10900K.
Thinking that's probably fine. I wonder what the wattage is that you're using just for that device. You can use, I think HW Info is free and does that.
Yeah, that's what I'm downloading now. I'm curious with a power card draw on my
Yeah, that's what I use.
Hold on, I need all of my
Oh,
brain power to figure out which download button on this website is the right download button. One sec.
Yeah, they do. They do love
Holy
having
shit.
multiple download buttons.
Okay, versions. It's this download button. Okay, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
A big thing that you can do to lower your power on your streaming PC is I bet you have everything set to maximum performance and you don't need to be. And you can put it to let Windows decide, and that will, well, first let's see what your baseline power is. And I guarantee there's like 2 or 3 major things you can do to lower power consumption, especially since it's not a gaming PC. They'll make a big difference. Number one.
So real quick before you go into this, so using anything beyond high performance gave me a lot of issues in the past streaming, because if Windows tries to underclock some stuff or reduce power to some stuff, it might lag certain parts of your computer if you're streaming. Number one, and number two, I am like this. Remember,
Actually, it doesn't even matter for the streaming PC because you need to replace that. That's ancient. You should just get like.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the next line of chips, I think from AMD to come out in a couple weeks, and I'll probably just end up replacing the whole rig.
Yeah, AMD stuff is really power efficient for what it is. Like I have a 7950 X3D,
yeah,
which is pretty good, but you don't need the 3D stuff for streaming. But I'm curious on your gaming PC that you could probably do a lot of tweaking.
Considering I don't really game on it much now, probably.
Yeah.
I should just get
I'm not sure how you're tripping. Sorry, how you're tripping that. Like, even if it's the worst type of, if it's a 15 amp, that's gonna be 1800 watts. Do you really have 1800 watts of shit?
Wait, I feel like when I mathed this out before, I feel like it trips at 1200 watts.
I wonder if you have there other stuff on a circuit in another room, but still, do you have 1200 watts going right now?
Well, it'll trip, I think, at 90%. So then it's a little bit less than that. And then, yeah, I think that's fairly easy-ish for me to hit that. So right now, I'm looking at I think my UPS is only see what I have plugged into the backup battery, right? It's not showing me.
No, it should show the total usage.
Oh no, it doesn't. It's only in the battery. I know this because Cake told me this because I was so mindfucked because I've got 2 UPSs that only do 850 watts. So in my mind, it was impossible to trip anything. But apparently, they only show you the wattage on the window that's going through the backup battery part, the load.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
That's correct. Yes.
So looking at just on the backup battery part right now, like I'm showing 100 watts on my gaming rig, and I'm showing about 400 watts on my streaming rig.
Okay.
Okay.
What else do you have that's
Well, what else I have is it's just all my lights, my gaming computer, and my streaming rig. The issue is just going to be that whenever something comes up or something happens where it's starting to like cause more power draw from these things, it only has to hit, right? A trip is just, an instantaneous increase in wattage that flips the circuit, and then that's it. So if something is happening on my gaming computer, I think like if the room gets hotter, that might impact it a little bit as well. It only has to go up a little bit, I guess, to trip the circuit. But like I'm running like this, like my gaming computer, I ran that power cable into the other room to try to move these off of like into a separate circuit. So just fucking annoying.
interesting?
Hardware monitor. Okay, let me check. Oh God, did you see that happy birthday thing?
What? No.
Tom Clancy and a bunch of other Twitch people, I guess, called Hassan and sang happy birthday to him. Did you know that Hassan is 33 years old?
Um,
Well, I don't understand how he makes fun of me for my age all the time. I'm so confused.
Yeah, I also get confused at that, actually, when people like you make fun of my age.
Yeah.
It's also very strange to me. Does it feel upsetting when he makes fun of your age only being 3 years or whatever younger than you? 2 years?
It's 2 years, whereas you're like 12 years.
Oh, 12 years? I think we're pretty close.
Wait, does Hardware Monitor not show power draw?
Wait, HW Info 64. What are you using?
Oh, HW Monitor. What the fuck is HW Info?
That's the Poggers one.
Okay, what do we have? We've got voltages, temperatures. Oh, power package. Yeah, 115 watts. Okay, that's on the CPU. Voltages, temperatures. Tools, view. Is there a way on Hardware Monitor to just view like the whole system power draw, or?
I actually don't know what Hardware Monitor is. I only know HW Info 64.
Huh. This is the one that I always use.
Hardware Monitor. Is this HW? From CPU Z. Is this what this shit is?
That sounds right. Next time a breaker flips, check which outlets are out. I know which ones go out. I know what it is. I mean, I can like rewire and fuck with shit, but I don't have any trips now because I've like reconfigured shit a little bit. But it's pretty rare that I get one. It happens occasionally, but.
So have you already bought all the parts for your new PCs, or are you deciding if you want to change anything on your gaming PC? I don't think you need to.
I definitely won't touch this one. On the streaming one, I want to replace it probably with the whole AMD system, but I'm waiting because there's always like a new chip coming out. There's like a new chip in like 2 weeks, so I'll wait for that to come out and order that.
So does that show you your graphics power and your so what's your wattage on your CPU and what's your wattage on your GPU right now?
On my GPU, it says, I'm assuming that GPU is adding all of these together. It says 78.62 watts.
Okay. And then CPU is what?
For CPU, it's 120. So it's drawing about 200 watts together, I guess. Yeah.
On your gaming PC, try going to your power settings real quick and try changing it to let Windows decide.
Fuck that shit.
Why?
Because it always gives me huge problems, and I feel like it's...
You can... On your gaming PC, it's going to give you problems?
Well, my gaming PC isn't the thing that's tripping. That's never on a tripping breaker right now, so I haven't fucked with that. Honestly, the power settings on this might actually even be that. I don't think I've fucked with these. It's only my streaming PC that irritates me. Change advanced power. Oh, no, it is on high performance, yeah.
Well, I mean, it probably doesn't matter very much then. Whatever. If it's on a different circuit, who gives a fuck?
What's the last new game you've played?
New game?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
I think the monitor that Dan got for the studio, that one you said does authentic HDR.
Yeah.
I feel like gaming on like a horror game or something on that would look really cool. That monitor does look really, really, really nice. The actual HDR shit looks really good.
Yeah, HDR stuff is so good. Mm-hmm. If content is like I don't know, but it'll be really nice when Twitch eventually lets you stream in HDR or YouTube as well. I think that'll be super cool.
When they let you what?
Stream in HDR. Like for instance, iPhones, the camera, you can record HDR video. Like most of those walking through Japan HDR 4K, those are actually just shot on the latest iPhones because they can do it.
But you're saying the actual video encoding doesn't encode enough or the right range of information to display HDR on YouTube?
Yeah, you can't stream HDR on Twitch, and I don't think you can stream HDR on YouTube. That would be sick if you could. If you can, that would be amazing.
Maybe, yeah. Consolidate your channel strips makes your interface cloud lectures into one 2-channel ARMY interface and save 1 billion watts. Unironically, maybe.
Hold on, you can stream HDR video to YouTube. Oh my god. Steven.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, because don't you... we watched HDR video on YouTube, right?
Yeah, well, no, they have HDR video there that like you can upload, but I didn't think that they would support it for streaming, and they fucking do. Bro, you are denying us with a superior viewing experience for us YouTube watchers.
My guess is going to be less than 2% of people have HDR monitors.
No, we will all buy HDR monitors under your Amazon affiliate link immediately if you do this.
When less than 40% of people are using 1080p monitors, I'll take you. I'll believe you again.
Not only will your camera be in HDR, so we can feel like we're there. When you watch HDR content and when you play HDR games, we're going to get the HDR experience as well for all of that Steven gameplay. Like I'm talking about when you're pulling up Wikipedia, oh man, the colors, they're going to be unreal.
Yeah. Wait, is the AV1 stuff, when you guys watch everybody's encoding on hardware now, right? I'm like the only person still doing this H.264 bullshit. Is the AV1 encoder, does that actually look a lot better? Can you guys tell a difference? I don't know why I'm asking chat. This is like the most niche fucking tech bullshit. Fuck, I should just get another RME interface. I could replace my whole audio bullshit in my room with that. Maybe not. Fuck that. Do you mean NVENC? No, I mean AV1. I'm using NVENC. I switched this to NVENC, so I stopped lagging on this computer because I'm like, I don't think it's as good on a 1000 series GPU as the X264 encodes I was giving you. However, I'm not gaming now, so you don't really need like fucking cutting edge. I'm not playing FPS or anything, so it doesn't matter. YouTube does support AV1. Are you going to bring up your debate strategy versus Prager? Did you learn anything from last night? No, last night it was just more kind of like a torture test or sanity check maybe or something for like definition of insurrection. My actual debates are going to be far easier because one, I don't think Andrew debates in good faith when he knows that he's lost on a point. So it's more just like a torture test for my definitions. And then two, I also knew that Andrew, the reason why there's a whole bunch of other behavior of Donald Trump that I could go into, but that was a debate very specifically about January 6th and not Donald Trump. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I couldn't bring up in that debate that I would in any other debate. So.
Oh, have you seen, kind of related to tech news, but
don't stream
not really. Actually, yes, it is. Have you seen the latest thing about the two new keyboards, the Huntsman V3 and the Wooting, and like the new feature that they introduced, which is like kind of destroying CSGO a little bit? Have you read at all about this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope. You're not about it's not AI, is it?
No. Okay. I'll send you a link to it. It's actually really cool. I bought the Wooting one because I think it
Huntsman V3. Wait, real quick. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Why? Okay. Do you remember when Arya found her wolf again in the fucking forest and she saw all the other wolves and then they had that moment? What the fuck was the point of that if that wolf was never going to be brought back again in the entirety of the rest of the fucking show? What the fuck was the point of that, Dan? That's what I thought. Okay, hold on. I'm clicking. First link or second link?
First one.
In other words, you can now have the fastest counter-strafes imaginable, and also the most insane AD spamming.
Oh. Interesting. No overlapping input. Does that count as cheating?
Considering that they're building it into more keyboards now, I think the answer is just going to be no. And just everyone's going to be expected to have to upgrade their keyboard.
Interesting. Okay, so that's one. I'm sorry, were there other features of this board that people are talking about, or was it just the non-overlapping input thing?
So that's the Wooting. The other big thing it has is that it's like for what do you call like the PoE style games? I guess in like League and whatnot. Like the second you lift up on a key even a little bit, it's like reset. You don't have to let it go all the way up to the top and then go back down again. So like if you lift it up a little bit and then press down again, it's immediately as another press, as opposed to like normal keyboards where you have to actually go and reset it and push down again. So you like any actuation up and down whatsoever counts basically. Gotcha. Which is
real quick. Sorry, Destiny, can you explain? So on a keyboard, on new keyboards, okay, some fucking retard. I can see into you. Okay, listen, I see you right now. Okay, I see you. Okay, you're a 45-year-old crusty fucking loser, all right? And you were already halfway through the sentence. Actually, Destiny, back when the PS2 input was the standard, the way that keyboards would register keystrokes was actually... Okay, I see you. If you finish typing that sentence, you're permabanned from every single fucking platform that I have, okay? Shut the fuck up. Okay, anyway. I think most keyboards today on modern technology, USB, okay, when you have multiple keys input at the same time, it will register multiple keys input at the same time. If you want to do a quick test of this, before this doesn't work, I think that like if you were to hold down, if you were to smash your hand on the keyboard on like 5 different keys at once, it will actually repeat 5 different keys at once. Hold on. Okay, well, it's doing 2 at once right there, basically.
The last one is the one that gets repeated, right?
Nope, it can do multiple. Is it just 2? I thought you could do more than 2. Sorry, I'll stick with this a little bit.
Mine only
Maybe
does
only
one.
does 2. It should if you do it. As long as you have, there's a feature called N key rollover that has to, but regardless of all that, you don't have to get too technical. Basically, you hold down multiple keys of a keyboard at once. Usually it will, it'll either recognize both inputs or maybe in some cases, if you hold down 2 at once, it'll, or if you push one and you're holding it down and then you push the other, it'll switch to the other key, right? It sounds like this keyboard, however, has a feature to where if you're holding down one key, you're holding down this key, and then you push your finger on this key won't actuate on the computer. It won't send the input until you lift your hand or your finger off of this key. It seems minor, and I don't know in a professional sense if it would matter, but if you were doing things like toggling a corner, or you're like trying to scope or whatever, and you're moving back and forth for a corner, you could just hold down one key and just slowly like lift your finger up and off of another one to move around corners or to do stuff like this. And there might be other implications. I haven't played FPS in a long time. I don't know the modern.
I mean, someone linked it. I guess the correct URL, if you scroll up, well, yeah, it's actually off the screen now. But anyways, it's like 120 millisecond advantage that you literally get. It's insane. Yeah, in Counter-Strike.
What? You mean it must be 12 MS advantage?
No, 120 for like this counter-strafing thing versus doing it otherwise. I'll find you the one that I fucked up the first one. Hold on.
You can show me 120 milliseconds. That's an ungodly amount of time. There's no way. But hold on, wait. Okay, give me 5 minutes. I'm just gonna watch this video. Okay, hold on.
No. Don't watch that. Don't watch that one. Watch this one.
Okay.
This one. There you go. I forgot the G at the end of the URL.
This is what game movement looks like on Razer's new keyboard. It achieves perfect strafing inputs. No movement overlap, no delay between direction changes. This movement accuracy is 100% impossible on a normal keyboard, and in the past, this way of input handling has been determined as cheating. Razer, though, are calling it snaptap. It's a free update that's available on their Huntsman V3 analog keyboards, and after testing this thing out, it is 100% something that we need to talk about. Normal gaming keyboards look like this. You've got a 2mm actuation point. Beyond that, the key is active, and above that point, the key is reset. That's pretty much it. The main issue here is that there's a lot of delay between what you intend to happen when you press or release a switch and the point when that actually happens. But then, Wooding mostly fixed this.
Wait, I'm so sorry.
Normal gaming keyboards look like this. You've got a 2mm actuation point. Beyond that, the key is active, and above that point, the key is reset. That's pretty much it. The main issue here is that there's a lot of delay between what you intend to happen when you press or release a switch and the point when that actually happens. But then, Wooding mostly fixed this. They came out with their adjustable actuation points, making the press delay basically as minimal as you'd want, along with a feature called Rapid Trigger.
This must be, this has to be like a proprietary switch, right? They're not using cherry switches or even the Logitech green or whatever the switches anymore, right? This must be
I think they're two different switches. I think the Razer is optical, and this one is something called an analog. In the Wooding is analog, and the and the Huntsman is some optical.
But
shit.
it's just they're new. They're not. So we're moving beyond cherry switches.
Yeah, they're not like cherry reds. Yeah,
allowing the switch to instantly reset the moment it starts lifting up. This feels leaps and bounds more intuitive to play on, and since the majority of keyboard input lag leaps and bounds instantly reset the moment it starts lifting up. This feels leaps and
it's not even looking. I thought that there was going to be like a very low like reset, but it's not. It's the second it changes direction.
Bounds more intuitive to play on, and since the majority of
it's nothing to do with hardware. It's just a simple software script.
That's
completely incorrect. There's no way that software can detect the physical location of the key. You have to have hardware to detect where the key is going. You fucking retard. Sorry.
Keyboard input lag is
He said it
actually
so
the
confidently also.
physical
Isn't that
travel of the
impressive?
Switch. It offers literally multiple frames of lower latency pressing and releasing switches. It offers literally multiple frames of lower latency pressing and releasing switches.
Okay, 40 ms latency. Okay, so there's a 30 difference.
But there's actually one more thing. On the Wooting, it is still technically possible to overlap your movement keys. If you start pressing one direction before releasing the other, you're technically actuating both keys at the same time, and in most games, this will give you no input. The chance of this happening is way lower than a regular mechanical keyboard, but it is still there, and that is where this new feature from Razer comes in, called snaptap. It only activates your last pressed input, now making it impossible to overlap your movement keys. If you hold down one key and then press the opposite direction without releasing the other, you'll just start moving in that new direction. There is no movement overlap at all, and there's also no delay between the left and right movement. You can be moving in one direction on one frame and then instantly get an input in the opposite direction, literally the next frame. No other keyboard can do this. Now in Counter-Strike, the most important movement technique to learn is called counter-strafing. It's when you release one movement key and then tap the opposite one to stop moving soon as you possibly can.
Because in CS, if you hold strafe and then you just let go and you let your character float a bit and you shoot, your aiming is super inaccurate. So you have to tap the counter-strafe button to center yourself so that you can actually shoot where the crosshair is pointed, I think.
In this game, you only have full accuracy at 0 movement velocity or very close to it.
I don't know
so
why
the sooner you can stop moving, the sooner you can fire an accurate shot. And this technique takes a lot of practice. It looks easy if you've never tried it before, but consider the precise timing that you need to release and press that new switch.
You don't really need to learn that shit though. You just gotta buy a P90 every round and jump and shoot. And before, P90 doesn't even exist in this game anymore.
Single time in the heat of a game with no movement overlap and no delay between those inputs. It is legitimately something
this keyboard seems useless for real games like Guitar Hero. Okay.
That you could still be.
If this is so revolutionary, what's the reason it hasn't been done before? So for the person that said that it wasn't, that it was software, not hardware, a keyboard switch is, my understanding technologically, is all you have is a device. And on this device, on this printed circuit board, you basically have a bunch of inputs, and all you do is there's a switch, and when the switch is active, okay, it moves from a 0 to a 1, it's sending an input, and then when it's not active, it moves to whatever, and that's it. That's a keyboard, right? Now, there are a ton of different ways to actuate that switch. Actuate meaning you activate it, you push the thing and it activates, but all you can do is basically send 1 or 0. You're either sending a yes, this button is being pushed, or you're sending a no, this button's not being pushed. That's it. Yes or no. Yes or no. If you want to cheat past that point, you might be able to use clever software tricks to get around that, but at the end of the day, that's all the key can do. Now, it sounds like what this keyboard can do is there's a lot more data that's being sent per key press now. It's not just sending you a yes or a no. It's sending you like a value of how far depressed is this switch, and then it's updating that value. Obviously, right? It's what would you call it, a refresh
I think
or whatever?
You would say it would be the direction at all points. Like,
I'm just saying that it's not sending you just it's not just sending a 1 or a 0. It's going to be sending like, we'll say it'll be sending like 1 through 100, and it'll be updating it'll be polling every microsecond or whatever right? So instead, it's saying like your switch might be at 1 1 1 1 1 1 because it's not pressed at all, and then it might be like 2 3 4 5 6, right? And then it's sending this, so it's seeing the switch being depressed, and then it's seeing it not being depressed. So the keys themselves now are sending way more information than they used to be. So insofar as like, why hasn't this been done before? Either it's too expensive, or that'd be my guess. Probably just too expensive. I wonder how much this keyboard costs. It's got to be at least $200, if not.
Yep, $200.
Okay, well, I say that, but that's not even really that much. I don't know why it hasn't been done before. Maybe maybe the technology just wasn't available or something before. I'm not sure.
Overlap and no delay between those inputs. It is legitimately something that you could still be improving.
Oh, actually, one thing I can guess, okay, moving outside of my area of understanding that well, but it might be that I don't know if the Windows kernel matters so much now that we use USB for keyboards as opposed to the PS2 input, but it might be that operating systems expect to interface with keyboards in a particular way. And so a typical OS doesn't recognize sophisticated logic coming from a keyboard, and that's just not built into any of like the standard OS interpretations of it. So maybe that's why people didn't do it, and they found a software around it. That's a super guess in the air. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
I would guess this has to be done mostly in the, I would assume there's probably a processor in the keyboard itself that just sends activated or not activated. That's it, right? You don't need software on the computer to understand that. There's only two modes, on or off, right? The keyboard can decide, is this going down or is it going up, and kind of go from there. But it probably is that.
Oh, no, you're right, actually. Yeah. Actually, absolutely none of this has to be done on the computer. You're 100% correct. All this logic could theoretically be handled on the keyboard without
but
any...
I think you're right, too, also, in that the computer can communicate with the keyboard to, like, find out the adjustable ranges and shit like that as well. So, like, for instance...
Yeah, but if it's setting it, it's probably just changing the logic on the board. It's not actually, like, interpreting information coming from the keyboard. The keyboard probably just sends it. Like, once it's getting to the computer probably just sees it as absolutely ordinary keyboard inputs, right?
Yeah, I would think so, along those lines.
After thousands of hours of playing this game, this keyboard, though, can do it perfectly every single time with, like, no effort. All you need to do is be moving in one direction and tap the opposite direction, and you get a perfect counter strafe every single time. And I don't mean like perfect as in like kind of perfect, I mean frame by frame. This is as perfect of a counter strafe as the game engine will allow. So here's a bit of a counter strafing simulation between the Razer Huntsman Mini V3 and the Wooting 60. These two solenoids will perform a strafe and a counter strafe, so we can see which keyboard will...
I mean, like, it is an interesting question, though. Why hasn't this happened before? Maybe nobody just had the idea, I guess. This is kind of a clever idea, but...
Yeah, I mean, that could be literally just be it.
Destiny, you're wrong. This just simply isn't how it works. It's called optical keyboard because there's a camera inside that's sent to someone who manually says what key you are pressing. The OS doesn't press anything. Good job.
I think that's
give us the better
You think so?
movement.
Yeah,
and to kind of simulate human error, I've added a tiny bit
That was clever, though.
overlap.
That was a ban almost.
Basically, if you were to start pressing one key without lifting the other immediately, which is way more common than you might think, especially under the pressure of a competitive game, even for a pro player. And yeah, we can see a difference. Razer's snaptap gets us back to full weapon accuracy roughly 60 to 70 milliseconds faster. And maybe more importantly here, there are several frames where you'll be at full accuracy on the Razer, but almost full spread on the Wooting. And then in Overwatch, where you don't have counter strafing, but you do have instant changes in direction, it's a very similar result. Not something that's easily noticeable in real time, but keep in mind this is the exact same input happening on both keyboards.
Holy shit, what if this is the keyboard that Dream used?
But with a different result. I've also only simulated a tiny bit of overlap of just 50 milliseconds. The worse that overlap is, the more dramatic this result will be. But again, the big thing here is how easy this is to do every single time, and you get a perfect input. I can personally count the number of times that I've played CS. It's enough to know that my movement is pretty bad, but this keyboard turned me into a counter-strafing god within about 5 minutes of practice. It was so easy to...
I think you can use the keyboard as a throttle in racing games, so I think some games can see it as analog input. I don't know, when you guys say analog there, I don't know what that means. All the data going over USB.
It's all digital.
Yeah, I don't know what that means when you say analog. I understand for music, we've been talking like waveforms and stuff, or analog audio cable. I don't know what you mean when you say an analog USB connection.
Why would they see analog means continuous? The fuck would that mean?
Well, when you say analog means continuous, what it means is that a waveform is a continuous wave that's drawn, that doesn't have snapshots or estimations on it, but everything coming from a keyboard.
I thought it just meant like a signal versus like a one. It's not. It's like a wave or whatever, not ones and zeros, if that makes sense, right?
Correct. It's like it should be able to go to a thing, like. If I want a speaker to activate, I have to feed an analog signal into the into which part of the speaker, into something that makes the speaker go boom 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 to move it. Right?
It's actually, I think it's the power itself, or it can be the power itself, right? Yeah, because there's speakers that are powered by nothing else but the by the two wires that come in, like headphones.
The 1 to 100, yeah, maybe, yeah. The 1 to 100 thing you talked about earlier is analog. Okay, I don't know if it's ever used that way in any other industry ever, but maybe. Like, would you say 44.1 kilohertz? Would you call that analog? That's digital. Analog just means if you're pressing a key 10% of the way down, it's 10% input registered. Like, imagine, okay, gotcha. Okay, so everybody's just using analog incorrectly. Okay. Analog just means a continuous signal. I don't actually know. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Analog versus digital.
Anyways, the big deal, we're right there when they're saying like, oh, it's 70 milliseconds better. They're comparing that to a Wooting keyboard, which is another keyboard that does this like instant release. Now, if you compare that to your keyboard, it's going to be like 200 milliseconds, or mine, or 150 milliseconds or something. That's like the best competitor that they're comparing it to. They're not comparing it to our keyboards. So for us, it's a fucking massive difference.
Exact same input happening on both keyboards, but with a different result. I've also only simulated
like how sticks on controllers are analog sticks, even though they're technically sending a digital signal. Okay, that just doesn't seem like it's. And okay, I don't know. I'm not sure.
A tiny bit of overlap of just 50 milliseconds, the worse that overlap is, the more dramatic this result will be. But again, the big thing here is how easy this is to do every single time, and you get a perfect input. I can personally count the number of times that I've played CS. It's enough to know that my movement is pretty bad, but this keyboard turned me into a counter-strafing god within about 5 minutes of practice. It was so easy to do.
How do you think audio works in a computer? In a computer, audio is transmitted digitally. Right? You can't send a perfect waveform through a computer. It's not possible. Do I even want to explain? I don't even know.
You don't need to.
I don't even know if
they're
anybody,
just going to be like, but I can plug my headphones in.
The 1 to 100 thing is not an analog. That doesn't make an analog. Nothing about that is analog. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know.
Even under the pressure of a 1v1, this keyboard just did it for me. But then I noticed something that's maybe even more broken. If you hold down one direction and keep tapping the opposite direction, you can do absolutely perfect jiggle strafing. Again here, no input overlapping or delay.
A digital signal is still technically a wave? No, by definition it's not. It's absolutely not. Digital signals are discrete snapshots. The whole reason why, like when you talk about like a sample rate for audio, that 44.1 or that 48,000, that's how many different snapshots you're taking of a particular wave to try to approximate the wave. That's why it's digital versus analog. And analog, like if you were to measure a sound wave in real life, you would just have a continuous like measurement of a thing. But on a digital wave is going to be an approximation of what the actual analog sound wave sounds like, right? That's why. Hold on. Never mind. Go ahead.
It's brutally easy to do, and if you stay within the right dead zone in Counter-Strike, you still technically have full accuracy. It makes micro-correcting with little strafe inputs absurdly easy. You can do perfect jiggle peaks around corners with like no effort at all, and you're a lot harder to hit compared to just standing still or crouching. It's kind of busted in Overwatch as well. I mean, it's like the most insane strafe spam that I've personally ever seen. This kind of strafe with no error or delay is actually impossible on any other keyboard unless you're a robot. The usefulness of this in an actual competitive match though is definitely up for debate, but used in a more normal way where you're actually dodging and mirroring enemy input, it does definitely feel like a more responsive and clean input. Now this snaptap feature, this way of only prioritizing your last pressed input, is actually nothing new. It's been around for a while in both Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike with something called null cancelling movement. It's a script which basically does the same thing on pretty much any keyboard, and at least in CS, it wasn't allowed in competition. This new keyboard though, apparently is allowed at the highest level of ESL tournaments, which is gonna be interesting for sure. For most people who are just gonna be using this to rank up online though, I don't think that this is like bannable or even detectable because it's doing it at a hardware level. Maybe I'm wrong there, but yeah, I think we're at an interesting point in time with gaming keyboards especially, where game developers and tournament referees need to look at this stuff and actually decide whether it is broken for their particular game. Especially the way that it can can be used to AD spam so quickly and so accurately with no error, yeah, I don't know, that's just not normal. For those that play Valorant though, there's actually nothing to worry about here, because Razer's snaptap is actually not that useful. Counter-strafing in Valorant is nowhere near as strong as in CS. You do get slightly shorter animations, but yeah, rapid trigger has a much greater effect here. At the very least, it is a nice feature that means that you will never be overlapping inputs, but that's pretty much it. Now, Rooting does have a kind of similar feature to this called Rappy Snappy. It's similar in the way that it won't let you overlap inputs, but instead it prioritizes the furthest pressed input, not the last pressed input like Razer. Rooting's version is pretty harmless, at least for FPS games. It's not too beneficial since most people are going to be pressing their movement keys to full depth. Otherwise, this thing is seriously OP, especially for CS. I can see why a few pro players don't want this thing to be included in competition. Game movement, after all, is a skill. Just like your aim, it takes thousands of hours to get it to a really competitive level. With this keyboard though, you're kind of cheat coding your way to a perfect input. I mean, the fact that I can pick up this keyboard and have like actually better strafing inputs than some pro players out there, that does make this feel kind of broken.
Okay, I think the answer is analog is just a fun term that people use to represent like ranges of values because it sounds cooler than digital. Okay, that's the actual answer. All right.
Does sound cooler.
Okay.
Nubius, I know. I bought the Wooting. Basically, the competitor to this released their own version of this yesterday. And then I bought that keyboard. Because it's better. I got the full-size one, though. It's going to be really effective for my roof camping. Like, the ability to, like, really quick and up and down, you know? Oh, it's just going to be amazing.
True. Oh, Dr. K. Or wait, oh, we'll do that later.
We got to stay friends. Dr. House, though. Do you really think he's, like, if there was a Dr. House in the real world...
This will cause the bridge burning, Dan. Don't do it. Not House.
No, I want to ask you something more pragmatic. Do you think he would even remain a doctor? Or do you think he would be fired, like, years ago?
He would be fired on probably, like, day 2. I think he would be fired. There are, like...
He'd be uninsurable.
There's at least one huge thing that happens in the House world that makes it so that House can do what he does. Do you know what it is? There's one thing. I'll give you 3 guesses, or you can just tell me to tell you.
Wait. Ask me the question
what
again.
Makes it so that House is able to function the way that he does and operate with impunity? Why does it work in his world? And the answer isn't something like, oh, because he's got plot armor. There's a specific in-world reason why.
Like, I guess you could say tenure, but the board can still vote you out.
Nope, not tenure. It's a medical-related thing.
Autism?
It's because when a patient is brought into the hospital, the only thing that can ever kill the patient is the particular disease that they were brought in for. That's it. When you're working with a patient like that, that means that you have carte blanche to do almost any type of testing or symptom inducement you want with no penalties. How many times does House bring in a patient and he's like, oh, well, we don't know if it's this or this. Let's do this to give him a heart attack and then we'll be able to confirm, right? Or let's do this and it'll cause him a stroke, or he'll have a seizure, or let's kill his immune system and then we'll let the disease run rampant and then we can tell which disease it is. They can always test that way and they will never, ever, ever die. Every code always results positively. Every surgery always works 100% of the time. No heart attack, no stroke, nothing like that ever kills or causes permanent lasting damage in a patient. That's the reason why they can, why so many of the crazy testing and things that they do operate like in that environment. Yeah, it's ridiculous, yeah.
But obviously not reality.
No, yeah, you would never. Yeah, the second you try to, you would have one patient like, oh, well, I thought that if I did this, and I thought that if I did this and made him sicker, I could figure out which bacteria it was. And it's like, okay, well, you confirmed it, but then he died. Yeah, he died while that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's a question, would you want Dr. House to be your doctor if you were sick? Or would you be like, no, I'm good. I'll take, like, who else do you got over there? Someone who's never had a reprimand. One of them, please. I don't. It's definitely like, I feel like he'd be like, you went to Costa Rica 25 years ago. I want to test for this. Like, just my leg hurts.
Have you watched that the new the Good Doctor show or whatever, the autism doctor?
No, it looks so bad. It's not actually good, is it? Please, actually,
I started watching. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay,
I'm getting.
go ahead.
I myself. I never put TikTok on my phone because I didn't. I think actually Aaron's in chat. I think you open TikTok like one time on your phone, and I'm like, never again. I can like lose like 12 hours in TikTok. It's like it's deadly. But I started doing the YouTube Shorts spin now, and now I realize like, fuck me, I like sit in bed, and all of a sudden like 2 hours has passed. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? But I've started watching clips of The Good Doctor. And you know what? It actually seems like an okay show. It really does.